started about 3 years ago. I'm the CEO and founder at Belouga. My name's Evan Schwartz. And Beluga's really started with the concept of how we create a social learning environment for education to become accessible, impactful, and equitable, right? And what does that all mean? We looked at our current world and realized that traditionally, most information is being dictated down through traditional media outlets. And we said, how do we kind of spin that on its head and give children and teachers as well the ability to really relate to what's going on around the world, not necessarily just from media, but from personal connections. And in so many ways, learning about the world with the world. So our entire experience in Beluga really provides educators and students with content and community that is not only able to hit their creative and curiosity goals, but also connect directly back to their core curriculum and subject area to really provide this 21st century learning experience.
Excellent. So I'll tell you guys right out the gate, you might see a lot of mental health stuff within the platform. One of the really neat things that I encourage everyone to check this out.
With May being Mental Health Awareness Month and everything that's currently taking place in the world, our team and about 50 organizations that we work with really prioritize mental health this month and are serving up lesson plans, panel sessions, keynotes, activities from global organizations, experts, educators, even students as well, all relating to their own mental health. So you guys are probably going to see a lot of that today. But what you're seeing currently is our main interface. This is after a student or teacher would log in. One main point is that students and teachers are seeing a very similar experience within the platform. So within Beluga, everything is kind of framed in this Netflixy type of environment. And what we really look to do with our technology is meet a learner where they're at. So upon registering for Beluga and entering the platform, teachers are the first point of entry. Once they are in, they're able to invite their students. We do this to ensure that it is made for education by education. But upon signing in, every single user will have to go through about a 1 minute onboarding process. And it's really just the system getting to know them better, understanding how old they are, what they're interested in, what subject areas they're coming in through. And from that, this entire library populates. And our library is made up of content really from organizations worldwide, educators worldwide, and even students worldwide. We work with about 160 global organizations, everything from the United Nations and UNICEF down to small grassroots organizations in Tanzania protecting the elephants, and really look to, in so many words, bring their content to life. This is actually a Central High School teacher right there, Keisha Antel. So great to see that one pop up immediately. But what you're looking at is my personalized library. This is from an educator perspective. So I'm able to discover all content directly within the platform relating to multiple different subject areas. But as you can see from the top part of this, it's going to start ranking content a little bit differently for me. And these are our version of units. Within each of these, there's what we call episodes. And the episodes are basically lesson plans. I'm going to bring you guys to one that I think is going to be pretty neat. So you could search up here by any key term. We have over 30,000 hours of educational material that has been built into the platform. Teachers and students are able to search by subject. So about 13 core subjects, and then about 200 micro subjects underneath each one. So really identifying exactly what we want to do. And in the SDGs. The SDGs are a really interesting thing. And I know this is something that's brand new in education. So the SDGs started in 2015 by the United Nations saying—
What do they stand for, Evan?
Yeah, great question, Alan. So the SDGs stand for the Sustainable Development Goals. And Alan, you know how big of a fan we are of these. We basically work with the United Nations on this, guys, and a few other organizations worldwide to implement this into education. So the SDGs were created to solve 17 tremendous goals around the world by the year 2030. Now, what we've seen the SDGs really lend themselves to is being a real world standard, in so many words, for education, to say, after all this information and rich knowledge has been passed on to the student, how do they then put it to work outside of the classroom? And the SDGs are that framework where students can connect it through social impact, activities, and engagement, their learning experience to really making the world a better place. So I'm going to search, let's see, we'll do gender equality for this one. And guys, keep in mind what you're seeing here is actually 19 results that are specific to me as an educator. This profile you're looking at right now has been built for a middle school, so we'll call 7th and 8th grade high school or middle school, teacher that really is focused on resource and social studies. So in gender equality, I could scroll down. I could see exactly what content has been made for me. You'll see the creator, and there's Keisha again, which is great to see. You'll see these little dots. These are the SDGs that it connects with. You'll see how many episodes are in the series, so how many lessons, and then what else is available to you. So our search is completely compatible with what's happening in a classroom. Something to mention as well, when we work with districts for the summer and really fall semester 2020, is that all content will also relate to local standards. So for JCPS, for instance, this might relate to Kentucky Common Core, but also I think the neat part about the platform, just knowing JCPS and working with some schools there already, how does this connect to Backpack? How does this connect to these 5 success skills? And that'll be something that we discuss next week. We have 2 great sessions coming up with JCPS educators. I want to show you guys this series, for instance, though. This is just top of mind from my side. Yesterday was International Student Voice Day. So a really great day to just celebrate students doing amazing things within our own community. This is what a content experience looks like in Belouga. So this is our unit in so many words. Teachers can bookmark it and save it for later. They could view the content. So what is actually in there? What does it mean to me? What subject areas does it align to? What age is it for? How long is it actually going to take my students? A little bit about the experience in itself. And then if it looks fantastic for me as an educator, I might click Enroll Students and Collaborate. If I enroll my students, I could see which classrooms are currently registered under my profile. I could click Period 3 Learners. Under here, you'll see all the content that is now available to you as an educator. So this is completely packaged up and ready to go in lesson plan format for teachers. I could select all of them. I could select specific ones. One of the big things that you guys will see is the age appropriateness. Belouga is certified by COPA, FERPA, and GDPR compliant across the board. We work in about 100 countries, so safety and security is the top priority to us. One of the things in platform is that students will never see content in their own profile that is outside of their age requirement. As an educator, if you're saying, hey, I have 10-year-old students and this Finding Your Heartbreak Grace series is perfect for my kids, you're able to assign that piece of content to your students, but they would never see it on their own. As an educator, once my content has been selected, I say these 3 are great for me. I can enroll my classroom. If I enrolled my classroom, all students would then see a notification that popped open here that said, Evan would like to have you work on Grace Action to Impact. My students would then select that piece of content and dive directly into it. So every single experience is happening through each individual user's own profile. One of the really neat things as well through Belouga, and I'm going to go back to Enroll Students and Collaborate, is the ability to actually start learning globally. So I might have a great network within Belouga on a social side, and I'm clicking these episodes again, right? These 3 are perfect for my students, but I know that Alan is one of the teachers in my school, in my district, or a great educator that I've connected with through Belouga or outside of Belouga in my education circle. I know Alan's students are learning at the exact same pace as mine or have a great trending topic coming up. I might select a name here from my network, click Enroll Classroom and request collaboration. And not only are my students getting this notification now, but Alan is getting this notification as my partner teacher. If Alan accepts that notification, his students are actually paired up with mine directly in each individual activity that we select. Belouga does not dictate the learner experience for teachers or students. Teachers are able to view and engage with as much content, as little content, as many people in network as they want. So we've really seen, kind of learning come to life in a sense where teachers are able to connect with different subject areas or like-minded subject areas, but get a completely different perspective, not only from the subject matter, but from a full cultural matter as well.
So, Evan, these playlists are really essentially learning activities and experiences that kids can go through, put them together to form a learning journey, if you will. And they can do that individually if a teacher decides that, or collaboratively with kids in their class or with others across the world to do that.
That's exactly it. Yeah, Alan, that's spot on. I'll tell you, a lot of JCPS that we've seen, and even schools throughout the U.S., are going to choice boards. Right? So we've seen this happening over recent times, especially with remote learning taking place. What we realize is that the choice boards are really able to blend pretty nicely into this experience, into one of our features specifically, like you mentioned, called Playlist. So playlists provide educators with the ability to look around Belouga, say there's a lot of content here. How do I make this specific for my own classroom? Right, where there might be 5 different lessons in this activity, but I only want one of them. How do I come into this, create a playlist, and save it to my playlist? Each playlist within Belouga has its own unique
URL. What we've actually seen from JCPS educators is they're coming into here, copying, pasting this URL, and adding it directly to their Google Classroom for their students, where they're able to pre-populate content from really all around the world that's packaged up. They could publish this publicly. They could have it privately just for their students. This is almost, if you will, kind of an own personal textbook in a sense, where educators are able to continue building on said subject area. They could delete things, but really kind of it's their living, breathing curriculum.
And I noticed on the left-hand side when it said those playlists, it kind of gives a little bit of an
estimated time or something as well. So teachers can kind of get into these, check them out as they should, because if you're going to use these as creating a learning experience for your kids, you'll obviously want to get all into them. But the other thing that I think is kind of neat is that this is not just a set of curated learning experiences that are out there, but that teachers are creators of these. Our own, as you've already pointed out, and that's how these get populated, and Belouga vets them all, correct?
That's exactly it, Alan. And I'll tell you, we're not only working with teachers and organizations, but we're working with students too. And we've really seen how is really everyone able to learn from one another and teach one another. So all content in our platform is vetted.
Evan, I have a question from the chat. We have Deborah Berger. She says, is this mainly for middle school or high school?
Yeah, great question, Deborah. So I'll tell you, it started out actually for middle school.
And that lasted about 2 weeks. So that was a quick learning experience on our side, and great learning experience, the best we ever could have had. But all of a sudden, thanks to PLNs and just the education community, one day we had 6-year-olds and the next 18-year-olds on the platform. And that was about a month into our launch. So what the platform has really been based around is K-12 completely, Deborah. We have content for all age groups, all subject areas. I'll tell you, middle school probably holds a little bit higher percentage in our platform, but not by much. So all of them are within the 30% range. So we don't necessarily have a dead even split. Middle school might be about 30% of our network, followed by elementary school and then high school. So we've really seen a pretty even display across the board on what age groups and subject areas are able to come into the platform. Saying that, elementary school, there's clearly challenges, with the early age learners. So we work with some districts that are bringing pre-K to 2 on here, we'll call it. And we've built some features in specifically for that. So there's talk to text within the platform. There's text to talk, making it really easy for students to communicate. For really young learners, what we've seen educators do is come in and instead of having all their students sign up, where a 6 or 7-year-old is going to probably take a little bit longer than a class period to go through one of these assignments. An educator is able to come and have their own profile and learn as one classroom together. as opposed to, going through a complete activity. But there's content fully across the board, from learning how to read and learning math, to talking about social justice and, the pandemic globally now.
The interesting thing, though, is that I think that there's not just content like on here, but this is a creative platform where teachers, for example, can not only create their own things, but also mix and match with these to create the kind of learning experiences that they want their kids to have. And I think that is makes it able to be tailored to your kids, because it's the teacher that is the one that is personalizing this and setting it up so that it's going to meet the level of where they think their kids are.
Alan, you nailed it on that side. And just back to the previous point, so everything within the platform is vetted, and one, making sure that it's proper for the education community. But what we really try to hang our hat on is, how do we create storytelling and content as opposed to that traditional lesson plan? So Alan, to your point, kind of mixing and matching what the learning experience looks like here. Our team of educators internally are constantly working with our community to understand not necessarily how we fix your math lesson, right? That's not our job. Our job is to understand, how do we take your learning experience and bring it to life in the best way possible for your students, and then, if you're open to it, for the community as well. So what you guys are looking at right now is actually an episode. This is our lesson plans. So this was from that previous series that you looked at. This was actually an episode created completely by a student. This student is a 13-year-old child in Ottawa, Canada, where she was so moved by hearing stories about hardships in South Sudan that she decided to create her own journey. And this is her, Grace. So what you're seeing, and I won't play it for you guys because I know we're short on time, but ultimately within this entire experience, Grace built within the platform, and I'll show you what our builder looks like, all of these learning outcomes. So we do everything from videos to images to case studies to text to multiple choice to upload responses. The really neat thing about it is everyone is building in different ways and shapes. So we don't dictate any of that experience as well. As a teacher, you're able to scroll freely throughout a learning experience. As a student, you cannot. You have to go through every single activity. For instance, this video is 5 minutes and 59 seconds. A child cannot just scroll to 5 minutes and 58 seconds and storm through it. If a user logs out, it will bring them directly back to this point, so the 3-second mark, upon logging in again. One of the other aspects within Belouga is not only our deep dive series for students and classrooms, but also professional development. And this is kind of a new initiative for the organization, where we started hearing from a lot of different educators worldwide, and them coming back and saying, guys, the PD in our district is great, but I'm really interested in other things, right? How do I get access to this? So what we've done on our side is create the exact same experience for students, but also now for teachers. And we've partnered up with great organizations worldwide, universities, experts, and educators, some accredited bodies as well, where they're able to come into Belouga, access big topics on professional development, and really guide their journey. One of the things we take pride in is the personalization of the platform, and understanding how we meeting a learner where they're at, and always asking the question, what happens next, right? So you just finished this great activity. How do you continue with that? So everything, not only for students, but for also teachers, are paired up where they're able to continuously get more content, more connections, and more community engagements. On our community side, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Our community is made up of your peers, your students, and the global Belouga network. Within my peers, I'm able to get connected with any single educator within the platform. One important thing to note, students cannot search for other students or teachers in the platform. Educators are the only ones that can free search. From this aspect, I could search, let's say Shauna here. I can message Shauna directly. I could share files directly with Shauna within the platform. I could see Shauna's profile. And one of the really neat things that we're super excited about is Beluga Live. So Beluga Live is our video chat player. Again, everything COPA, FERPA, GDPR compliant. We know that has been a major issue for schools over the last few months. Everything lives within the platform. So it is a closed private community where I could pop open a video and communicate directly with Shauna, or even as a teacher, I could communicate with my students through video chat in the platform. I could chat with my students. So James, hey, fix your homework. I could see James's profile and track James's progress in the platform on what he's engaging in, who he's communicating with directly within the content. I could share files with James as well. And one of the cool things is the ability to really have classroom chats or group chats. We've seen this be a nice savior within the pandemic age right now, where teachers are able to come into their classroom, pop open a period, have their learners all in one place, and have that video chat stay within Beluga. Now, what I mean by that, staying within Beluga, it does not bring you to a different screen. It's going to pop open a video chat in either the left or right-hand corner, and it docks directly within the platform. So you can now learn, scroll, explore the platform while still seeing your community that you're learning with. Within the platform as well, if you don't know anyone, we always see districts are getting connected with their own colleagues first, which we always suggest. But if you're coming to this and really want to get, a little global, we'll call it, we do have suggested connections as well. We kind of call it teacher dating in a sense. And all of this stuff is really paired up based on your profile. So Robin is matching up with me based on my student subject areas, my subject that I teach, my age, and my exploration within the platform. I could chat with Robin. I could see Robin's profile. If Robin doesn't look like a good fit for me, I could click next and go to Chandra, and so on, moving forward from there. So really trying to make this as social as possible to kind of build a PLN within the system and within the content.
Yeah, it's a global learning community in that regard.
That's exactly it, Alan. You nailed it at that. And the last thing I'm going to show you guys is just your dashboard, right, where you're driving from. So teachers are coming into this and seeing a little bit more capabilities than students. As an educator, I could see my deep dive series. So again, our units and lesson plans. I could see gradebook, and gradebook is just kind of our version of being able to communicate with students. I could see exactly what my students are writing, what they're answering. I could correct it. I could ask them for revisions. I could mark it as done. We're not the platform that's assigning an actual grade, though. We've seen some integrations with Beluga depending on what the district is and depending on probably what the LMS is locally, on how they're integrating Beluga with their LMS. There's some neat features in here. My created series, which I'm going to come back to as our last point here, my bookmark series. So what I've explored in Beluga that might be great for my next unit or my next lesson plan, or maybe something from a year from now where, hey, summer's starting and I know this would be fantastic in the fall. My students I could come into. Teachers can have absolutely unlimited students in here, unlimited classrooms. I'll click in my classroom here. One of the things in our platform is not only tracking students, but the ability to pop open a classroom. So instead of those long verification codes, we might just do period 1 learners. Instead of long verification codes, we use images where students would still have to register from our homepage, beluga.org. They would enter their name, their username, get approved, and before entering the platform directly, have to identify who their teacher is, so Mrs. Jones, and what are Mrs. Jones' images associated with her classroom. I'm going to click pencil and chalkboard, and that's Mrs. Jones's profile images. Once a student selects that, their profile pops open in mine, and I could approve them or decline them. Most of the time, 99.9%, you're going to approve, and that student is now in your classroom. Teachers can also share multiple students. So if it's one school, high school or middle, a student can be in multiple teacher profiles throughout the day. Playlist, again, you guys saw a quick look at what that looks like. I could share with my class, ones that I might have created and then bookmark. I could track my own professional development within the platform as well, see all the courses that I'm enrolled in. And the final thing I'm going to show you is my created series. This is really where the platform comes to life from the creative side, where teachers are able to come into Beluga and create not only for their classroom, but create a unique learning experience that's able to be collaborated on with their students, with other classrooms, either locally or globally. As an educator, I'm able to edit freely. One of the neat things is I'm able to actually co-create with educators. So generally what we've seen is local educators creating, but we've also seen global, where there might be a great teacher in Louisville that connects and collaborates with someone in Florida and then someone in Beijing, China. And they're all able to build together. And we've really seen those bridges on learning start taking place through this creation process.
And I think, Evan, that's what we'll learn a little bit more about next week on Tuesday at 9:30 with what our teachers from Central
have been able to do as they've created some of their own, as well as being able to use the ones that Belouga already has.
Absolutely, and we've really seen those Central teachers do some great work, not only connecting to backpack and success skills, but also to their local R&I framework. And how is it kind of implementing content both in the classroom and out of the classroom. So this is kind of our full overview. You're able to enroll, view stats, chat with Belouga. This brings the content creator directly to our team to communicate on any help that might be needed. Every single episode within Belouga, a lesson plan, is able to be shared socially or through Google Classroom, and then editing the content itself. So our builder, we try to make it as seamless as possible. We're adding things to this, removing things from this at all times to make that learning experience as dynamic as possible. As a content creator, you have a quick dashboard. How long is it going to take? What is the age group? SDG again if you want it. Everything is hyper tagged within the platform, so understanding exactly who it's going to. And then finally, the different slide types. Our slide types touch on everything from text to images, to videos, to short answer, to video response. I'll show you guys a quick one, and I know we're getting to the top of the hour here. This means...
These can also be linked to standards in our success skills, correct?
Absolutely. So that's one of the big things, standards for back to school season specifically. Everything will link to localized standards with our district partners. So they'll come in here and see exactly how the content relates to what they're doing. And then success skills, Alan, I know you mentioned it. I mean, that's almost naturally built into the Belouga DNA, is understanding those 5 dynamic learning experience and benchmarks ultimately. That is really the Belouga backbone, ultimately, without even knowing it on our side. It's how those success skills have fit in. You can put notes here as well.